Welcome to Resettled and Rising. I am Shahdukht, your host, and this is the pilot episode of my podcast, Resettled and Rising. Have you ever thought how people rebuild their lives in a completely new country or countries? Not once, not twice, but for some people, many times. We hear their stories of struggle through media. We hear refugee, immigrant, and displaced people's stories, but not enough about their success, their journeys, their growth, their identity, and everything that is behind the curtains. That is why I created Resettled and Rising podcast. Through this podcast, I want to tell those stories. I want to show the journeys of people behind all those struggles that they've gone through. The journey of success and failure, the journey of life and the experiences that has shaped them, that has created them to who they are right now. So, who am I? And where did this podcast idea come from? Why do I think that the stories that people will share through this podcast matter? Where did I come from and what are my credentials? Well, this is a conversation with myself, and I will shed some lights on my background, the idea behind the podcast, the plans for its future, and everything else that probably you might question. So let's get started. I am Shahdukht. I come from Afghanistan, and many people might know me by my name and by my background, my parents, my friends, families, friends of friends. But not a lot of people know the journey behind everything that I do or how far I've come, what ways I've taken. So they just know the name, the post that I make on social media, but not the journey. So creating this podcast is exactly how I want to convey or show that journey to the world, not only for myself, but to be able to bring my amazing guests to share their journeys of struggle, of success, of whatever they've gone through that has shaped their identity, their personality, and their life. I would love to share that through this platform. And that is why I've created Resettled and Rising. Also, a heads up that English is not my first language, nor is it my second or third. It's something that I've grown up learning through different mediums, from family and from school. And making this podcast in English makes sense because English is the universal language that majority of people speak and understand. And that way, this podcast will be accessible to everyone listening and who are interested to know more about the journeys of me or my guests. So now we know why, but going back to my introduction, for the majority of my life that I know, I have been a refugee. I've been a refugee child, grown up to be resettled in different countries due to security reasons, and have gone to many different schools, colleges, have had many different aspects of my life. And I've always shared the great things about that because those experiences have shaped my life. But rarely have I shared about the hardships, the journeys that I had to take in order to achieve those goals that I have set or put for myself. So here I am telling you through this conversation with myself. My name is Shahdukht. It means princess, and it is my real name. As much as some people might not believe it, it is something that my parents named me, And at times I feel lucky and happy to be having this beautiful name. But sometimes I just feel like nobody believes in me when I say this, but it's all right. For my undergraduate, I majored in human rights and minored in law and European studies. For my master's, I did Master of Science in Human Rights and recently graduated. I grew up in Kabul, Afghanistan for many years of my life until I was eighth grade. I went to Lomi Shade School. It was located next to our house for my elementary and middle school. Then I was able to go to Afghan Turkish Girls High School, which was an amazing opportunity. Again, I got accepted among many thousands of students. I felt lucky, and I am blessed and grateful to that opportunity to this day. I studied there for a year, and then we had to resettle to Tajikistan, which is another neighboring country to Afghanistan, due to security and safety issues. We resettled there, me and my family, and I went to the Shambe International School there for my high school and got a scholarship to go to Turkey for my bachelor's degree. I was resettled to Istanbul, and I then lost everything due to some political issues that happened at a time in Istanbul. My university was closed, and I had to come back to Tajikistan for my family. Got resettled again, went back to Afghanistan for pursuing higher education. I was there for a couple months and then got accepted to US Embassy in Kabul's scholarship that was provided for girls mostly at the time to pursue their higher education or graduate or undergraduate degrees in Kyrgyzstan, another Central Asian country. I had to move there. Very grateful for the opportunity. It was the biggest and the most fulfilling, memorable time of my life. And I was there in Kyrgyzstan for 6 years until I was resettled in the US. So, fun fact about me, I speak 6 languages. I speak more than that, but I just don't count the dialects. Dari is my native language. It's my mother tongue and something I've grown up speaking at home. And Pashto is also one of the other national languages of my country. However, unfortunately, I cannot speak fluently in Pashto. I can just make basic conversations with people, and I do understand mostly of what is spoken in Pashto with me. I know English fluently, Turkish fluently, Urdu, Hindi, both are similar to me. I know them both. I know Russian. I was able to learn French language when I wanted to go for this study abroad opportunity to France. I had to pass a specific test of language in order to be accepted for the Erasmus Plus scholarship. And thank God I studied French. I love that language. I am not fluent in it, but I can read and understand most of what I read or hear. But it's a very difficult language, to be honest. Many people, when I meet and I tell them that I know these many languages, they always ask me, how did I learn? Well, I've lived in all those countries that speak those languages, and I had to learn those languages for understanding people in those countries that I lived in, right? I have lived in Pakistan when I was a child. I learned Urdu from there. Specifically, I learned Urdu or Hindi through Bollywood cinemas. There hasn't been any extra curricular or extra courses that I took for that. No, I learned it through TV, through my mom translating it for me. I learned Turkish from Afghan Turkish Girls High School, and then also from my time in Istanbul. And my family lived in Istanbul or in Turkey for 5+ years. So I was traveling back and forth for summer vacation, and that's where I got fluent in Turkish, and that is the language that we mostly speak at home also, because my brothers were brought up in Turkey. I learned Russian when we were in Tajikistan, because Russian was their second language, and I learned the alphabet, some basic there, and then in my time in Kyrgyzstan, I learned it through communication in person. Like in Kyrgyzstan, they mostly speak Russian, so I was able to improve my Russian language in Kyrgyzstan. Even though I don't speak it right now as much as I wish I could, I'm starting to forget a little bit, but I hope I'll keep that language with me forever, because that's also one of my favorite languages. Then for French, as I said, I had to pass a French exam to be able to go to France for my education. So I had to take courses at the university, and that's how I learned it. So all these languages I've picked up or learned because I had to be resettled and move to that country. And I am grateful for it, because now I have 6 different skills, language skills, right? That I put on my resume and is amazing. People are amazed by it, and I am. Sometimes when I think about it, I'm like, I always underestimate this, but it is an amazing skill or talent to be able to know all these languages. Apart from my fun facts, I am a very outgoing person. By outgoing, what I mean is adventurous. By adventurous, what I mean is not going to camping or hiking. Even like I like hiking. I don't like camping, but adventurous in a way that I want to explore many places. I want to go to different restaurants, for example, to try new things, to go to different cafes, explore the city, explore the road trips, explore the wilderness. But yeah, I am a very adventurous person in my respective way, and most of my money is spent on trying new things. Throughout my life, have been an active student, so I've received many different scholarship opportunities. Forever grateful for it. I was able to receive a scholarship to go to study in Istanbul, Turkey. Then when I applied for the US Embassy scholarship, that was major breakthrough to my whole life, and I received that scholarship from the US Embassy in Kabul. Then it was a fully funded scholarship. Then that opened doors for me to be able to get a scholarship from Central European University in Vienna, Austria. I was not able to go there due to visa issues, but that was another scholarship or acceptance letter that I got from there for continuing my master's education. I received Erasmus Plus scholarship to go study in France at Sciences Po University, and then eventually I got a Qatar scholarship for Afghan students, which through that I was resettled to the US, and Qatar scholarship helped to fund my studies here, where I was pursuing my Master's of Human Rights at Binghamton University, a state university of New York. Then through that, I was able to go to Global Engagement Program, which was another State University of New York's initiative that would allow students to study one semester in New York City for building network, being able to work practically in different organizations as interns, while also studying and going to the classes in person, pursuing all these networking events and job opportunities in New York City, which was an amazing opportunity. It opened many different doors. Not only that, but basically my life in New York was an amazing time. I made a lot of friends, a lot of network of amazing people, went to different places, learned how to navigate my life through the US. It started all from New York. So remember how I said I was always an active student? I've always tried to be out of that comfort zone and put myself out there, and that helped me a lot in my education and in my extracurricular activities. I was nominated 2 times for the Dean's List Award at my undergrad university at the American University of Central Asia. Shout out to AUCA. I still love you. You are in my heart. And I was able to become a student senator at the American University of Central Asia. And this happened through democratic voting among the whole student population. Everyone was voting for candidates of their choice, and I came the second person, I believe. I came second on that round, and that was a great opportunity as well. Was able through that to make or lead the Afghan Cultural Day at my university. I was the lead of the Diversity Week for our delegation, for Afghan delegation. I was also a bridge between students and the university administration. So that's how student senators were working. I was a peer tutor at the university. It was a part-time job that I was doing. I was a peer academic advisor. That was a volunteer position. I also got a teaching assistance position. It was a paid job. Amazing opportunity again. And I've done a lot of other extracurricular activities that I can't remember now, but someday maybe I'll work or I will remember all of them and talk about it more in depth here in my podcast. One of the recent experiences that I've had that has impacted my decision to come up here and talk to you guys and start this podcast is the fact that I was a commencement speaker at my graduation ceremony. It was a surreal, incredible, unbelievable experience for me. I never thought I could one day stand on a stage at the State University of New York and deliver a speech to an audience of around, I can't even understand how many were there, like more than thousands of people, and representing the College of Community and Public Affairs class of 2025 at my commencement, and being able to deliver a speech not only about my journey and myself or my peers, but also to raise awareness about what's happening in my country in Afghanistan. It was one of the amazing, incredible experiences. I've always known that I'm a public speaker. I am very confident at public speaking. I love being the spotlight, presenting stuff, talking about it. But the idea of me being there among thousands of people on a stage delivering a speech kind of gave me the chills, the audacity, I would say, or the courage to come up and acknowledge my public speaking ability and start this podcast at the first place. So that experience has really affected or impacted my decision of being a podcaster, a public speaker, and I am forever grateful for that. I'm not saying that I've reached all my goals. I've come to the top of my goals or the highest version of myself yet. but I'm working towards it, and hopefully day by day I am reaching my goals. So the thing with goals is like this, at least for me. I set a goal, then I reached that goal, and now I set a higher goal for myself. And I'm sure it's pretty much the same with everyone. You always raise the bar for yourself, so that's why you think at the top of your head that you haven't reached that ultimate goal yet, but it's just you raising the bar and reaching that goal and reaching the higher goal and the higher and the highest. So that's why you always think, oh, I'm not there yet, but you've already reached all the goals that you had set for yourself 5 years ago, right? So think of it like that. But that's my credentials. That is how I've been all my life. And probably I've just shared the pictures of the certificates or the fun events that I've been to, but I haven't told a lot of people what I went through to get to that position, what I went through to be able to get that certificate. And here you know now. And I am proud of all that experiences that I've had throughout my life. Being a refugee never limited me. It only made me more resilient. It made me be better than myself from yesterday. Now, let's talk about this podcast and how did this come to life. So I graduated from my master's, from my graduate degree last year in May 2025. And in order to be graduated, you have to come up with a capstone or a thesis. For me, a thesis was not chance because I already had written one for my undergrads and I was not in favor. I would have done anything to not write a thesis at that point. But things changed and I had to submit a research paper, which was definitely considered for my thesis. But then throughout this process, I was thinking of a capstone project as something that I could present that is like a tangible, not a written piece, but something that is like, a capstone project can be anything. A live performance. We have had some classmates that created a live performance in the topic or discussion of abortion. But for me, I was thinking, what can I do to make a difference? And what can I do to have this capstone and call it a day, So this came up to me that I know a lot of amazing friends that I have, or amazing people that I see on social media who have had a resettlement journey. They've been to different countries, resettled there, have gone through different phases of life, experiences, journeys to integrate to their community or to build themselves up again. And I was like, I'm so proud of those people, and it's very amazing what or how far we have all come. But not many people know about it. So let's tell our stories. Let's show the struggles that we've gone through. For me, I've always received this comment from a lot of friends. How can you be so positive or happy or smiling all the time? This was me like a few years ago. I am no longer that person, but I wish I was. I'm still a very positive and happy person, but life changed a lot of things for me. However, I've received that comment a lot from my friends and those people I know. And honestly, I see what you mean. I've gone through a lot of struggles, a lot of personal, professional, educational, financial struggles. And for me to be this positive and happy and giggly all about it is, I never thought about it, but now that I do think about it, it's amazing. And I know a lot of people who I know personally have gone through a lot of different struggles, and they have rised above. And to tell that story to the world is amazing, to show that all you see online that I share, the laughter, the happy face, the spoiling myself, I have gone through hell to come that far. You might just know me and my name or my family, but you don't know what I've gone through to become this me. So this was the idea that came to me back when I was graduating at a time. But then I tried to work on it for a month. I worked on it. I had a friend who was initially in the podcast with me, but we separated our ways because I moved to another state and we couldn't continue working on this together. So I took over the podcast and slept on the idea for a very long time. Unfortunately, I was not sure how to proceed with the producing aspect of it. And I was not in a great mental state at the time. I had recently graduated, and to everyone graduating who haven't secured jobs yet, I feel you, and I've been there and I know how it feels. So I was in that stage of my life where I felt like I can't continue anymore. So it was mentally a lot of pressure on me, and then I gave up on the idea. I put it there to sleep, and I was like, let's not think about it. And several months later, I received an application process for a civic engagement fellowship. And I thought about, bringing this idea to life, to bring Resettled and Rising again and work on it. Now that I have this civic engagement platform, this fellowship will give me that push that I need and the support. So I thought, why not? Let's start it. And that's how it started again. But for the few first months, I was not taking it that seriously until it came to the point that I was like, what am I doing in this fellowship if I'm not working on this project that I have proposed? So I started working on it. That is a lot of tricks on your mind when you are trying to start something of your own, your own brand, your own business, or anything of any sort. You always overthink it a lot in your head, and you probably think, oh, this must be perfect in order for it to be launched in the public eye. And for me also, that was most of the time that I was procrastinating. In the back of my mind, I was thinking, oh, this is not perfect yet. Let's wait, let's make it perfect. But I wasn't also doing anything to make it perfect or to even work on it. So I don't know what I was thinking, but it was a lot of overthinking in the back of my head, and which was stopping me. But then one day I was listening to this podcast by someone else. It said something along the lines that perfection is what is keeping you behind. First trials might be a failure, but at least you're trying, you're putting something out there, and then you'll be able to polish that product. So I was also thinking, I've always thought, oh, I need to make this perfect. Oh, the posters are not good. The voiceover is not good. The whatever that goes into making or creating a podcast and an episode for it, I always thought it's not good enough. But how will I know it's not good enough if I have not put it out there already? It's just me thinking that it's not good enough. Maybe people will like it. Maybe even if they don't like it, they will give me some feedback. Maybe I can polish my episodes based on those feedbacks and get more listeners. So that kind of pushed me to start working on it again. And luckily, I have worked on it for the past few months. I have been working on it nonstop, creating a lot of promotional materials, reaching out to different guests, and trying to bring this to life. I have a vision in my head, and bringing that to life needs the work to put in. So, why do I think it's important to share our journeys with everyone through this podcast or through any social media platform? Is because media often focuses on trauma of, let's say, refugees, immigrants. Oh, they're traumatized, they took this very long way to come to this country or that country, they left their home. But media outlets rarely talk about the success stories, the journeys of these individuals. They rarely talk about the things that these individuals have gone through and have achieved and are still achieving. So these journeys or success stories, as you may call it, are underrepresented a lot. And displaced people or immigrants or refugees are all limited to statistics. Rarely are the positive things that displaced refugees or immigrants are doing have been talked about through medias. Rarely are they acknowledged for all their accomplishments or for all the good deeds that they're doing for their communities. And mind you, these individuals are forced to leave their countries. At least that's true for refugees and immigrants to some extent. But some other people also who come for education purposes, for work purposes, all of them come for the shared idea or plan of a better future, for the freedom that they're entitled to, for safety, security, and being able to live in a country or in countries that might add value to their skills or value their existence. So maybe my guests will have one or two advice that can help the audience or help them navigate a specific route they're taking. So yeah, that's the reason that I've mostly wanted to create this podcast. And so the podcast itself, the Resettled and Rising name came after many different names were considered, and this I ended up with this specific name because I wanted it to rhyme, like resettled and rising, like they're both R and R, and also something meaningful. Like resettled, you resettled through different journeys. Either you're a refugee, immigrant, migrant, a student resettling from your country to another country for education purposes, and maybe sometimes you stay in that country after you graduate to work. So that is the idea of resettling. Rising is the idea that against all odds, you have left your country, your family is not here most of the time with you, you're alone. This is a new country, a new environment, a lot of new people. You don't have your friends most of the time, but you're still rising. Rising is not like, oh, you have reached the ultimate goal. As I said before, goals extend as you reach them, but rising is the mere idea that at least you're not giving up, not giving up about your life, your idea, your purpose, rising from the ground, trying to build a life for yourself, helping your family and friends, and also helping your own self by building yourself. That is how the idea came. And then the format is online because at this time it is very easy to have an online brand or business or whatever you may call this, just because it's very accessible to everyone. Mostly, it's also very affordable for someone who starts from nothing like I do. I don't have a budget or a fund for this project. It is something that I personally work on. I fund myself. And so online made the most sense to me. My guests are anyone who has been resettled and is rising in their own specific respective way and are ready to come and share their stories. Those are my guests. They might be the people that you're friends with through social media. They might be the people that you follow. They're just normal, everyday friends that we have and see on social media through different posts, and we never think about their journey. For now, at least, the plan is to share episodes every 2 weeks, just because it makes the most sense to me since I have a full-time job and the editing and promotional side of this podcast takes some time for me, and I am doing this all alone by myself. So I need to manage my work effectively and to set an expectation also for the audience to know that every 2 weeks a new episode will be dropped. So that's the plan for now. The audio section of this podcast is again solely and totally online. So accept my apologies if the audio is not to your liking, but I have or will try my best to improve it day by day, and to eventually have a platform where I can talk with my guests in person. But we'll see how it goes. Maybe someday I will talk about how or what steps I took to bring this idea to life through different apps that I use for editing, for promotional materials, for voice overs and everything, or music creation for this podcast. But for now, this is a brief explanation of how the podcast works and sole purpose of this podcast, and the hope that people take away from this podcast is that resettled refugees, immigrants, or displaced people are not a burden to the society. They're not only stories of trauma, they have gone through a lot of hardships and they have still rised above. They have still not given up. They're working on themselves. They're helping their families. They're being a great part of their community, giving back to their host countries, and are change makers in their respective ways. That is the idea or the hope that people take away from this podcast. The whole point of this episode was just an introduction to show you my credentials, as you may say it, or to basically introduce myself and tell you why do I have high hopes for this podcast and how am I relevant to make this initiative. And this episode is just a glimpse of what I've done. There is a mountain of the things that went through all of the things that I did, which I'd love to speak more in maybe other episodes. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you learn something or two from the podcast episodes, from my guests, from myself, from my journey. I hope you know me better now and that you can trust that I have great hopes for this podcast and that you can support me in any form through social media shout outs. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, this pilot of my podcast. I am very excited to share more, to introduce all my amazing guests with you, and to put the stories out there for you guys to listen, enjoy, learn, and be inspired.